here to Minneapolis, the largest city in the state of Minnesota, and we're going to make sure that it is one of the most memorable of them all. So Minneapolis is the birthplace of some of the finest NHL greats, like Zach Parise and Dustin Byfuglien and Tom Chorsky. Many more players from our city have made it to the NHL. And now they may have also played for other teams, but the team that we are obviously most proud of right here in Minnesota is the Minnesota Wild. Let's hear it for them. Yeah. And we want people from across the country and the world to come to Minneapolis and witness what those of us who live here get to experience each and every winter. People from the ages of 5 to 105 can't wait until the lakes and the ponds freeze over so they can lace up those skates and get out on some fresh ice. Now, Hockey Day Minnesota, it's a whole lot more than high school hockey games. It is some spectacular high school hockey games, by the way. But it's also more than that. It's community service projects. It's an extraordinary community event that we can all rally around and be super proud of. Thank you so much to the Minnesota Wild, and thank you to Fox Sports North. They've made Hockey Day Minnesota into one of the most inclusive weeks in the upper Midwest. People from every single corner of the state and across our entire country will drive, they'll fly, or they'll snowmobile to one location. And in 2020, that location is right here at Parade Park. And this is going to be an event for the history books. So thank you so much, and we will see you right here next year for Hockey Day Minnesota. Now, please give a huge, warm welcome for our new superintendent of the parks, Mr. Al Bangora. Bring it home.
Thank you. All right, welcome. Again, my name is Al Bangora. I'm the new superintendent for Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, but I am a native Minnesotan. I've been here a long time. So well, welcome again to the beautiful Minneapolis Sculpture Garden. And it's really a privilege to stand next to these young people here and just to be a part of this. And this is really one of the most picturesque, beautiful areas in our park system, the Sculpture Garden. And it's just right off of downtown, and we're so fortunate to have that. And, Loring Park, just a quick fact, Loring Park was one of the first rinks that was built in 1884. So we have a long history of ice and skating in our system. And also Parade Park, which hosted the Minnesota Wild practice years ago. So we're very proud to say that also. So, each winter, the Minneapolis Park Recreation Board builds and maintains 46 outdoor rinks throughout the city. And a common fact, which maybe no one knows, is that is the most outdoor rinks in the country, in Minnesota. So I'm very proud of that. We have almost 25 warming rooms serving those rinks, and almost all of them offer free rental skates for all of our community and our young people and our families that come out to our rinks. And so we really touch all income levels, cultures, and neighborhoods that experience the joy of outdoor skating free of charge in our Minneapolis parks. And so really to conclude, outdoor hockey is really ingrained in the city's culture. We're honored to be a part of the Hockey Day Minnesota 2020, and we're grateful for the opportunity to share in our wonderful park system and to be a part of this. So I'd like to also thank our partners and everyone that's here today, the City of Minneapolis and Mayor Fry, Minneapolis Public Schools and Superintendent Ed Graff, Minneapolis Downtown Council, Fox Sports North, the Minnesota Wild, and to really give them a thank you and a big hand for really being a part of this and working together on this. And so with that, I'd like to welcome the Minnesota Wild sideline reporter for Fox Sports North, Kevin Gorge.
All right.
Appreciate it. Great to be here, guys. As you know, at Fox Sports North, we do a lot of really cool things, and having spent the last weekend in Kansas City with the Red Hot Twins, we love our jobs, but there is something sacred and something special about this event. And having been here since day one and seen through the 13 first years of the event, seeing the communities come together, seeing the kids that have been able to play on this stage, and hearing the stories of their families that all over the country get to watch the broadcast on Hockey Day Minnesota and see their grandson or their granddaughter play. It makes this day the special day it is for us. It's the most important day of the year for us at Fox Sports North. So thanks again for helping us make this such an extraordinary event. As you can see, it's a beautiful summer day. It's going to be close to 90 today. We live for our summers in Minnesota. We love our change of season, but we know that in the not so distant future that summer is going to be over and fall is going to be here. And we know that once fall gets here, these kids start doing the captain's practice thing, and next thing you know, the season started, and now we're ramping up. So once Hockey Day gets here, it's going to be a lot colder, which is fine. We hope it's around 20, clear, sunshine, maybe fresh coat of snow. But as we've learned year in and year out, we don't control the weather. Last year in Bemidji, we fought through some unbelievable elements, but it ended up being a fantastic day, and the stories we can tell because of it make that day very memorable indeed. We're gathered here for an update on Hockey Day Minnesota 2020. For those of you that don't know, this big day originated back in 2007 by the Minnesota Wild. It celebrates the game that has made Minnesota the state of hockey and beyond. It's produced in partnership with Fox Sports North, Minnesota Hockey, Wells Fargo, and local communities across the state. Host communities have included Baudette Bay, Phelan Park in St. Paul, Hermantown, Moorhead, Minnetonka, Grand Rapids, Elk River, Holman Field over in St. Paul, which was really cool, Duluth, Stillwater, St. Cloud, and as I mentioned, the awesome people last year up in Bemidji. 2020 marks the 14th year for this event. It'll be held right here in the Twin Cities in downtown Minneapolis, and right over there, beyond those trees, is where it's all going to happen at Parade Stadium. Hockey Day has turned into an annual hockey holiday for everyone throughout the state of hockey and beyond. Many people like us will take it outside. They'll have their own outdoor games. They'll drop the puck. They'll have the fire pit going. But a lot of people just celebrate at their houses, turn the TV on, and spend the entire 15 hours watching everything we do, the stories, telling the great features of players that have played, maybe years past for these programs, and celebrate the programs that are a part of this great event this year. The rest of State of Hockey today is also finding out as we stream live on our Fox Sports North social media platforms, and part of this program here today will be involved in our Twins telecast tonight at Target Field. It's my pleasure now to welcome a good friend of mine and a great man in the game of hockey. He is the president of the Minnesota Wild, Matt Maka. Matt, it's time to announce the date for Hockey Day Minnesota.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, everyone, for being here. We have a really simple mission at the Minnesota Wild. Our organizational mission is to create a greater state of hockey, and there's no single event every year that we execute that does that better than Hockey Day Minnesota. And we've been so proud to work with Fox Sports North from day one on this, way back up in Baudette Bay and all the places in between. This year, we're really, really proud to be in the city of Minneapolis and to have that as a backdrop, that skyline as a backdrop for the TV shots and the whole day. So the dates, official dates, to get to those, January 16, 17, and 18. There will be events going on throughout those 3 days. We'll get to the participants in just a few minutes and the exact games. The big day, of course, is Saturday the 18th, and full day of hockey all on Fox throughout the day, and it'll just be fantastic. We're so thrilled to do this again, and it just getting better and better every single year, and it's a really proud thing for us. The other thing I wanted to do here really quickly, if Mayor Fry will join me again. So we have a little gift here, if I can do this with two hands or one hand. We have a little a jersey to present to the mayor and to the city that designates the 2020 Hockey Day Minnesota here in Minneapolis.
You're not going to be warm at all, are you? There it is, 20 and everything. Gotta love a guy that comes out when it's 90 degrees, has the shirt and tie, gopher sweater and wild sweater, and doesn't have a drop of sweat on his forehead with all that great hair. I cannot say the same thing. I was over here about a month ago with my daughter. We came over to check out all the art here and play miniature golf on top of the Warroad Art Center. And it was fun to talk to some of the employees over here about the excitement that was building for Hockey Day. We had a great conversation with a couple of the people working at the mini golf course upstairs. It's fun how every year when we do this event, when you get to this point in the summer where you kind of get the dates and the matchups ready, where everybody that lives in the area that's going to be a part of the planning starts to really get excited. It becomes real after today. And I know that the Minneapolis local organizing committee has been extremely busy just setting this whole thing up to get to where we are at this point right now at the end of June. Don't want to add any pressure to those folks, but we're already almost 200 days away from Hockey Day, Minnesota. And those last 100 days, once we get to the wild season, go remarkably fast. So please join me in welcoming the person in charge of all the people, all the volunteers, all the great work that makes this day come together. It has to start with the boss. And the boss's name is Scott Russert. He's in charge of the local hockey community planning this great event. No pressure.
No pressure. Thanks, Gorgie. That really helped. Thank you very much. Our local organizing committee is keenly aware that I believe we're 207 days away. So it's go time, baby. It's time to kick it in. Our subcommittees have been hard at work planning the event so far. I think there's going to be some familiar past successful elements that people recall from previous hockey days. We'll have a hockey village. We're going to have entertainment. We'll have food. Then there's going to be some unique elements to Minneapolis itself. You'll see opportunities to highlight Minneapolis's rich history as well as its vibrant future and so many of the great youth programs that we have here in this diverse community. In addition, it's going to give folks who come down a chance to experience some of the non-hockey cultural events that have already been referred to see this amazing sculpture garden, to see Loring Park, to see the Walker Art Center, and really get a chance to experience all that Minneapolis has to offer. Most importantly, we're very excited that any of the proceeds that come from the event are going to go to supporting youth hockey in the city of Minneapolis. We have 4 amazing youth hockey programs, and the proceeds that we can come out of Hockey Day with are going to go directly to ways to help grow and foster that youth program to keep Minneapolis such a vibrant hockey community that it is. So that said, with these 207 days that we have left, we're now going to be looking hard to get everybody to step up and volunteer. We need more volunteers. We need more sponsors because without those, without all hands on deck, we're not going to be able to make it the first-class event that it needs to be and that we know it can be. We need to come up with an event that's worthy of the city that is hosting it and worthy of the organizations that are putting it on, the Minnesota Wild and Fox Sports North. So we are extremely excited. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and we expect to see a lot more of you in the days to come.
In just a moment, we're going to meet the players and the coaches that will compete in this year's event. The next guy I want to bring to the stage is a good friend of mine, and to tell the backstory on who he is, I vividly remember those first couple of years outside, sitting in the bleachers calling games at Baudette Bay, and Anthony and I had worked together for years doing local high school hockey back in the early to mid-'90s when I was still coaching high school hockey, and there we were up in Baudette before this event really got to the level it is now where we have these plush little places we call the games from that are actually heated, and it's pretty comfortable. We were out, it was 50 below at Baudette Bay, and he and I were in these little windbreakers that our boss at the time, Jeff Bila, got for us. But what makes me so proud of who Anthony has become at our station is he's one of 31 play-by-play guys in the world for the best game in the world, the National Hockey League. And he started right here calling all the games that we call now on Hockey Day at rinks all over the state. And he did it for basically peanuts. He was a high school hockey announcer. He did play-by-play. He did interviews. He put a show together called Prep Sports Weekly, which I would be on as a guest, as a coach sometimes. You talk about Minnesota hockey. You talk about a guy that should be involved in Hockey Day, Minnesota. This is the guy. He's the voice of Wild Hockey on Fox Sports North. Put your hands together for Anthony LaPanta. No stories now. No stories.
Oh, Kevin made me promise no stories. That's difficult. I'm honored to be here tonight. Our general manager, Mike Diamond, couldn't be here today, so I get the honor of representing Fox Sports North. I'm really excited about Hockey Day Minnesota 2020. As Kevin mentioned, he and I have been a part of Hockey Day. I've been a part of it in literally every role. I've hosted from the desk. I've been a part of the on-site high school games. I've been a part of the college hockey coverage and the last few years calling the Minnesota Wild game that always caps the night. There's something special about being at the site, even if it is sitting in minus 50-degree wind chill in Badette with Kevin. There's better places a guy could sit, but I've also learned lessons from those days, like never ride in a car with Kevin in a blizzard. We had an accident on the way home, and I've never since gotten in a car with him again. I never will. We've had some great times. Kevin mentioned some of the weather challenges over the year. That was one of them. We've had too much sun in Moorhead where blue lines and goal creases melted. We've had too warm weather in Minnetonka where games had to be moved in. We had a rainstorm one year in Hermantown where they were out reflooding the rinks at about 2 o'clock in the morning to make sure we could still play. I'm amazed every year at what the host communities do to get these games on and to host this event that year after year after year just keeps getting bigger and bigger and better and better. So there's a challenge for this year's host community because we've seen some great ones. We've seen great settings. Kevin mentioned Holman Field in St. Paul, down on the river in Stillwater, right on the shores of Lake Superior in Duluth, at the Hankey Pit in Elk River, on the shores of lakes in northern Minnesota. It's been awesome, and I think this one has a chance to be right up there with some of the better ones. For us here at Fox Sports North, we share some of the visions that Matt Maka mentioned about the Minnesota Wild's mission, and that is that we're committed to try and grow a greater state of hockey. And we do some unbelievable events over the course of the season. We're excited to be a part of what's been a great Twins season, Wild seasons that have been playoff runs in the past, but we don't do anything at any point during the year that rivals Hockey Day Minnesota. 16 hours of live programming that day. We'll have a live production crew that is second to none right here on site that will produce the 3 outdoor games that we'll get to in a moment that'll be played that day. We've got crews all over the state that are collecting stories of how hockey impacts families and lives and traditions all over the state of Minnesota and really all throughout the Midwest. We're excited about the day because it allows us a chance to really explain just how big a part of the thread of life in Minnesota hockey has become. I love the fact that when I go around to high school games or even youth games over the course of the year, and I'll have people tell me that, well, this is what we do on Hockey Day Minnesota. We have a tradition of doing this, and I was a part of some of those early meetings. I'm awed by the fact that it's become really a holiday for the game of hockey in our state. It's been amazing to see. I'm excited to see what this year becomes. We'll get to the matchups in just a moment, but in order for this event to take place, there has to be a host community, a host school, and they've done just an unbelievable job. I'm amazed year in and year out at what they do to get things organized. And this year, it's the Minneapolis School District that is serving as our host, and I'd like to welcome the superintendent of the Minneapolis School District, Mr. Ed Graff.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Ed Graff, Superintendent of Minneapolis Public Schools. It is quite an honor for us to be the host city as well as the host district for this event. As many of you know, this is sponsored by Fox Sports North and the Wild, and I want to give a huge thank you to them for putting this event together. We also know that Minnesota is the state of hockey. It's very well known. What you may not know is that Minneapolis, as mentioned by Mayor Fry, Minneapolis has its own recognition of hockey here in the city. Back to 1903, we had some of the state records here in Minneapolis. And then most recently in 1995, with the onset of girls hockey, we have records in that space as well. So for me, it's an exciting time to host something like this, give us an opportunity to showcase the city, our partnership with the Park Board. Thank you to Superintendent Bangora. But most importantly, it's to showcase our youth, our students. You know, we talk about knowing that Minnesota is a state of hockey. We talk about Minneapolis being the city of lakes and all the great amenities that we have here with our parks and community. But ultimately, it rests on us to improve the quality of experiences for our youth. And I think that's what this is about for me, most importantly. You've got some amazing athletes here. And I encourage you to take the time to talk to them and learn more about what their experiences have been. And most importantly, look at what their experiences are going to be out on the ice in January, come January. So I'm very excited to be here as the superintendent hosting this great event. And I just want to, again, encourage all of us to continue to support our youth any way possible, because as we all know, over the course of many years, they're going to be in our cities, they're going to be leading the work, but you'll also see the importance of their leadership today and on the ice in the future. So thank you again for coming out, and we're going to be a great host in Minneapolis, and I encourage everyone to either make your way down here to Minneapolis or stay tuned on Fox News. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ed. Now, the question that I've been asked maybe most often when talking about Hockey Day Minnesota 2020 is who's going to play? Who's going to be a part of it? So let's get to the games. The event, as Matt mentioned, has really grown into more than just the one-day event. The showcase is obviously Hockey Day Minnesota. That's on the Saturday. But we've got events going on all weekend on the outdoor site. It's been a great addition to the event. These games are not televised live on Fox Sports North, but we do cover highlights, and they'll be a part of the broadcast on Saturday. We'll feature some of the athletes that take part in these events and give updates on everything that's happening in these other parts of the hockey world. So Thursday night, we have 2 girls' high school games that'll take place right over here on the outdoor sheet. Holy Angels will battle Minneapolis, and Grand Rapids Greenway will battle Blake. Then on Friday night, and this will be a first-time addition to Hockey Day Minnesota. I'm really excited to see how this turns out. We will have an NHL alumni game that'll take place on the outdoor sheet on Friday night. As all of you are well aware, there are a huge number of NHL alums that live right here in the Twin Cities and throughout the state of Minnesota. So we're going to have a great list of the who's who of former NHL players that'll take part in that game, and we'll have more on that a bit later, but it's a part of the event that I'm really looking forward to. And then the Saturday, the Hockey Day Minnesota, there will be 4 live games that'll be a big part of our coverage throughout the day today that will all take place right here, starting with a couple of boys' high school games. The first will be Warroad against Minneapolis. The second will be Blaine against Blake. Then we have a college women's game that's been a part of Hockey Day the last couple of years. This year it'll be the University of Minnesota against Ohio State. And then all the action will cap off with the NHL game at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul between the Minnesota Wild and our former team, the Dallas Stars. It's going to be a great day. The matchups are exciting. We've got representatives from all the teams here, so we want to make sure we introduce and acknowledge some of those. It's a huge honor for these teams to be a part of Hockey Day Minnesota. Many of them are a part of it for the first time, and we're going to present the participating teams with commemorative banners that they can display at their home schools or home rinks for the next few months and years to come. So we'll start with the Thursday game introductions. As I mentioned, we won't be live for these festivities on Thursday night, but we will be taping the games, and you'll be able to see highlights of these games throughout the Hockey Day coverage on Saturday. Thursday night's game will feature the girls with 2 great matchups planned. The first one, Holy Angels and Minneapolis. And here representing the Holy Angels girls team is Athletic Director Michael Kotzman, their coach Ryan Lemire, and their captains Bridget McGuire, Abby Bursich, Annie Knapp, and Anna Jensen. And here representing the Minneapolis girls team, the District Director of Athletics, Anthony Fisher, the Assistant Director of Athletics, Dave Wicker, the coach, Sarma Osman, and the players are Anna Melnick, Lucy Pham, and Maddie Helmsetter.
Anthony, can I get the 2 coaches over here real quick?
Absolutely. The coaches
need you over
join
here
Kevin
for
Gord,
a quick
please.
Q&A, one with each, if you don't mind. We got to put you on the spot. Come all the way over here. You're the visitor. We'll start with Holy Angels. To be involved in Hockey Day and having seen what happened the last couple of years where it becomes kind of a weekend gathering for everybody involved, for your girls to be out here playing outdoors, what does it mean to your program?
So first of all, for anyone who knows me, Hockey Day is, and hockey weekend in general has always been one of my favorite days. Our family takes the entire day to celebrate it, to watch what you said, 15 hours of hockey on a Saturday. And now to get the opportunity for myself to represent Holy Angels and for our girls to play in the game is really, really exciting. Celebrate the history of the game, the impact the game's had on the state, the impact the state's had on the game, and all to do it under the lights, outside with downtown Minneapolis as the backdrop is really, really exciting. I don't think it gets much better than that.
It really doesn't. And if you're the host team, this is exciting, right, Coach? I know you were a great player back in the day, but now to be a coach and to be hosting, it's a whole different ballgame, right? You want to make sure everything's in place. You want to make sure that you're showing off your city as well.
Definitely, we're already prepping. We had our summer program this morning. We're very excited to host, and it's fun looking around and knowing a lot of these players, both the boys and the girls from Minneapolis, but also former teammates and former coaches of mine. So it's really a small hockey world, and it's going to be fun to be a part of it.
Well done, coaches. Good luck. Looking forward to it.
Our second girls game on that Thursday night will feature Grand Rapids Greenway against Blake. And here to represent the Grand Rapids Greenway team, head coach Brad Hyduk, captains Hannah Mark and Claire Vekic, and players Ellie Tilma and Caden Broking. Representing the Blake girls team, athletic director Nick Rathman, the head coach Sean Reed, and their captains Lily Delianitis and Addie Burton. Coaches, you want to join Kevin Gorg?
Well, it's been fun to watch the way the game has grown in the last 20 years on the girls' side. We've had players like Chrissy Wendell and Natalie Darwitz join our broadcast. For you now, as you watch the game evolve and you see a day like this, a weekend like this, where we celebrate not just the boys' game but the girls' game, and then we get to see the highest level, the D1, with the Golden Gophers and the Buckeyes playing. How good can this be for girls hockey in general?
Well, this will be a great opportunity for the girls for sure, but for the whole state. And what we can do in the future, make it even better, we can invite the Whitecaps to be participants in this as well. So there's always room to grow in this, but this year we're super excited to be a part of this experience.
A big part of Hockey Day is taking the game outside, and so many of these kids have grown up where there's a rink around every single corner, right? It's not the same as it was 20, 30 years ago, where a lot of players grew up playing in their neighborhoods outside. What is the biggest challenge from a coaching perspective? Even though you're up north, we get it, you're tough up there in Greenway and Grand Rapids, but still, getting the kids to play at a high level outside, how tough is it?
We'll get first-hand knowledge too, having hosted on Pekegama Lake in 2013, and 25-mile, wins and the experience that they had. But anyone who knows Grand Rapids and Greenway hockey knows that outdoor is special, and that the kids develop their skills there. And and interestingly, the profits that we had from that event ended up being the seed money for a new outdoor covered facility, natural ice, that Grand Rapids youth players are using every day of practice. So it's proof that Hockey Day Minnesota impacts those communities that it's involved in long after it's gone.
Great points. Thanks a lot, coaches. Look forward to seeing you for the big weekend.
Looking forward to the two girls' high school games here Thursday night. Then Friday night, the rink will be turned over to the former NHLers for the NHL Alumni game. First time ever that this will be a part of Hockey Day Minnesota. And here to represent those that will participate in the NHL Alumni game is another familiar Fox Sports North face, one of our co-workers, a Minnesota native, a former Mr. Hockey winner, an NHL player, a Stanley Cup champion. Welcome, Tom Chorsky.
Yeah, Tom and I go back. We played high school hockey against each other, and everybody that played in the mid-'80s knew who this guy was. I gave up a hat trick to this guy in one period in an all-star game my senior year. We were state champs at Burnsville. We thought, and I thought, we were pretty special, but I found out otherwise from this guy. For you, though, Tom, with the history, with hockey in Minneapolis, growing up playing for Southwest, I know how proud you were to be a part of Minneapolis hockey. To put Minneapolis on this type of stage, how special is this for you?
Yeah, it's really special and connected to it in a lot of ways. You mentioned growing up. I actually went to what is now gone, but was Minneapolis West High School. And if you went right down Hennepin Avenue to 28th, which is about a mile, that was my first high school in 9th grade. About 40 years ago, I started skating at Parade Ice Garden. So that was my first indoor rink to play traveling hockey at. So yeah, and then we practiced there in high school. And high school hockey at that point, every high school had their own team. So we had our own league and highly competitive. And at that early, just before I got there, one team from the city would represent the city and go to the state tournament. I never got to play in the state tournament, unfortunately. It was one of the things on my bucket list that didn't happen, but really, really special because I'm really right from in this community. I'm really looking forward to being part of the event, having been on Fox Sports North and part of, I think, half a dozen of the telecasts. I've seen behind the scenes and what goes into it. And it's an absolute honor to be part of it.
And to have these NHL greats here for the alumni game on Friday night. We now are to the point that Hockey Day's been around so long that there are players in the National Hockey League, like a Nick Bukestad, that played on Hockey Day Minnesota. How can this tie the whole event together?
Well, certainly the fans like to see the former players. We'll have former North Stars, which will bring out a lot of fans to see those players. And as you mentioned, we're starting to see players that have played on Hockey Day in the NHL. So there's just that connection of drawing attention to the former players that have participated in the game. I think the fans certainly like to see those players, even if they're getting a little older and slower. It harkens back to the days when they cheered on those players and were fans of those players. And so getting players to come out and play on this day is becoming easier and easier because it's such a marquee event.
Not only was he Mr. Hockey, he was the original Mr. Hockey from Minneapolis, Tom Chorsky. Thanks, Chor.
The NHL Alumni game will certainly be one of the highlights of the weekend, but the highlights most often come from the games here on Saturday, the main event games, the televised games. And we've got a couple good ones for you this year at the high school level. The first one is a boys game between Warroad and Minneapolis. Warroad, one of the more storied programs, historic programs in the state of Minnesota. And here representing Warroad, Coach Jay Hardwick and Dave Christian, who also went on to play, obviously was a part of the 1980 U.S. Olympic team. We're on the 40-year anniversary of that. Went on to play in the NHL after that. Dave Christian here representing Warroad. And here representing Minneapolis. And it's interesting to note, too, this event will take place on the 50-year anniversary of a state championship at Minneapolis Southwest. They won the state high school championship in 1970. Here representing Minneapolis, the District Director of Athletics, Anthony Fisher, Assistant Director of Athletics, Dave Wicker, their coach, Joe Diedzik, and their players, Ben Murray, Sam Pearson, and Frank Lindgren. Again, coaches, would you like to visit with Kevin?
Yeah, come on over, guys. I'll be on this side, Joe. Sure. Dave, come on over. That'd be great. Joe, I'll start with you. It's the same thing with Tom Chorsky. You were a star at Edison, went on to play for the Golden Gophers. Now you're coaching. You're representing Minneapolis in a lot of different ways, but this is where you're from. To see this come together here in the next couple of months, what's it going to mean to you?
Oh, it's going to mean a lot. I think we couldn't be more proud, and we're really honored, and we're looking forward to it. And we're just hoping that the weather cooperates, so we have a not too cold, not too warm type of day. And I think our guys are going to be fired up and willing to showcase the program we have.
Do you have a special outfit for TV? A lot of coaches have gone with the fedoras. Anything? I know you got the cool sunglasses, but anything you're going to come up with?
Nothing yet. I'll have to. Ted Cheeseborough with Centennial had some cool ideas. Maybe I'll talk to Teddy and see what he can come up with.
He's got that leather jacket. That might be a good look for you. All right, we'll start with you guys. Jay, Warroad, I get the tradition, and what's neat watching through all the years, back when you played even, when you come to the Twin Cities to play in a state tournament, it's like the town shuts down. Everybody wants to be a part of that weekend. How do you believe the town will support a day like Hockey Day here in Minneapolis?
Well, I think it's going to be very similar. We're hoping everybody comes down and same thing, shuts down and comes down and supports us down here. I think everyone's going to get behind it and be very excited.
And Dave, for you, 40-year anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. Because of the great movie now, even people that weren't alive understand the magnitude of that weekend. I was alive. It's the greatest sporting event I've ever watched. Do you ever get tired? I know you guys get asked a lot. I know you do a lot of banquets. You do a lot of different events throughout each calendar year. But now that it's been 40 years, how much more special is it to look back and to realize what a moment in time that was?
Well, it has lived on, and it's hard to believe that it will be in February. It'll be 40 years. 40 years have flown by. Every day is a great day for hockey, though, right? So I'm looking forward to this celebration of the state of Minnesota and hockey and what it means to it. So it's going to be fun, just as a spectator, to watch these great folks be able to experience playing hockey outside like we remember it 40, 50 years ago.
It's the way it's meant to be. Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, Joe.
We've been fortunate over the years to have some unbelievable matchups on Hockey Day, Minnesota. We had a number 1 against number 2 in the state last year. We had a number 1 against number 2 a couple of years ago at Stillwater. This year, we've got a couple teams that have really high expectations this season. Yet to be seen if when they arrive here in Minneapolis, they're where they want to be. But it's two teams that we fully expect are going to be a factor when it comes to determining who makes the state tournament in the spring. And this is Blaine against Blake. Blaine, third place in the state tournament a year ago. They've been to the tourney 8 times in the last 14 years. Here representing Blaine is their athletic director, Shannon Garrity, their coach, Chris Carroll, and their captains, Carson Rickles and Cole Hansen. Their opponent will be Blake, a team that opts up to play against the big schools. 16 wins last year, knocked out only by the eventual state champions from Edina in the sectional tournament. They have high goals this season. Their athletic director is here, Nick Rathman. So is their head coach, Greg May, and their captains, Will Svendal and Locken Reed. Coaches.
Come on out, guys. The hoodie was ambitious. I like it. You wear it well. So much ice out in the area of Blaine, whether it's where you play, Fogarty Ice House, or if you go over to the Super Rink. These kids probably don't have to take it outside. How much outdoor hockey do the kids play? How much will you play between now and hockey day to get your team ready?
Well, I think they do play quite a bit, just like every little kid does. How much will we get outside organized? It'd probably be tough to say, but I'm sure these kids, now that it's been announced, they'll probably be prepping themselves outside amongst themselves.
Blaine's a top 10 team every single year. You play in a section that features 4 or 5 top 10 teams just in your section. We talked as we were walking in this morning about that challenge. How much can a game against Blaine on this stage with the type of pressure Hockey Day certainly presents get your kids ready for what lies ahead come section time?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. We try to load up our schedule as best we can every year and try to play arguably the toughest schedule we can to get ready for section play. So, we believe in process over here at Blake, and games like this just help with that process. Being on a stage, being in front of the lights, in front of cameras and whatnot, and putting a little pressure on our guys should hopefully help come February and March.
Could be a preview of a state tournament matchup. 2 great teams. Thanks very much, coaches. Appreciate it.
The third game of the day that'll be live here from Parade will be a WCHA matchup on the women's side. The University of Minnesota will do battle with Ohio State. Here representing the University of Minnesota women is the WCHA Women's Commissioner Jennifer Flowers, Minnesota Assistant Coach Joel Johnson, and players Patty Marshall, Alex Woken, and Emily Brown. Here representing the Ohio State women's team, which I might add is well represented by Minnesota players, the WCHA Commissioner, again, Jennifer Flowers, their head coach, Nadine Muzzerall, and a player from Minnesota, from Mound, Minnesota, Liz Sheppers. Coaches, can you join Kevin, please?
Well, you want to switch? Okay. I'll switch too. First of all, for your program, when you have hockey players like we do in Minnesota, that's part of the recruiting trail for certain. Being on this stage, playing a team that perennially is one of the number 1 or 2 teams in the country, for the Buckeyes, what does this event mean to you?
I felt as a Buckeye an outsider until I heard you say the Dallas Stars are coming into town. So we're feeling a little more welcomed now. But you know what? A third of our team is from Minnesota, so they're no stranger to the tradition that goes on with this great event. And we're just very proud and happy to be a part of it. And we're excited for a great matchup against the Gophers and my former team, so that'll be fun, as Joel's my former coach and has known me since I was 18 years old. So, and it's great, seeing Sarma over there, a former player of mine, being a coach now for Minneapolis. And really, for us, it's really about growing the game for these young women and having these opportunities now that we didn't have when I was a player here. And so it's just fantastic for Minnesota and all the people behind the scenes of how well they've done growing the game for the girls.
And you guys have played on plenty of big stages, Joel. You guys have played at the highest level, and your team has become a team that in this town has become a really big deal. I go to Ritter Arena, it's full. So this has a different feel likely for you guys, but to take it outside, to play a game in the elements with your team and your skill, how much fun is your team going to have embracing this?
Oh, I think we're excited. I think it's just as big of a stage as we've ever played on. That's how big of a deal Hockey Day in Minnesota is. What the Wild and Fox Sports have done is incredible. As a lifelong Minnesotan, I can remember watching the first one, wondering, is this going to catch on? And now it's taken a life of its own. So, for our team to be playing a great opponent in Ohio State, both teams nationally ranked in recent years, we're just excited and can't wait for the matchup.
Who has the advantage when she certainly knows the playbook pretty well, but you also know her tendencies? Who has the advantage?
I think it's probably a draw. That's the wonderful thing about our league. So many great coaches, so many great relationships. Players know each other. A lot of them from the state of Minnesota throughout our league, and we consider it the best league in college women's hockey. Whether it's international, college, professional, we're just excited about the exposure women's hockey is continuing to gain and look forward to this event.
The game within the game, the Gophers and the Buckeyes, a part of Hockey Day Minnesota. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks to all, and best of luck to all of you. Enjoy the day. It's going to be something special. And then, as always, the day wraps up with the Minnesota Wild, and this one's a special rivalry. Whenever the Dallas Stars come to town, I know it gets me excited. I grew up a North Stars fan, and now there's no team it's more fun to watch the Wild take down than the Dallas Stars, a playoff team last year. That'll cap Hockey Day Minnesota 2020 with the Wild and the Stars at the XL Energy Center.
Thank you, Anthony. We're going to wrap things up here momentarily. We'd like all the team representatives, players, coaches, everybody with these banners to stick around when I get done here in a minute so we can get photo ops with everybody to promote this great event. Thank you to all the folks that came out today. We are extremely excited about Hockey Day Minnesota 2020, the 14th annual. The matchups from Thursday all the way through Saturday night are going to be spectacular. The venue speaks for itself with downtown Minneapolis as the backdrop. What a great place this is going to be. I hope you can all come out and be a part of it. For the players and coaches, we really are looking forward to your experiences and living your dream vicariously through the broadcast booth. It's going to be an awesome weekend. Enjoy it. We'll take pictures now. Thanks for coming out, folks. Appreciate it.